Welcome to the Watertown Belmont Chamber of Commerce 2006 State of the Towns Luncheon. Our guest speakers today will be Michael Driscoll, Town Manager for the Town of Watertown, and Thomas Younger, Town Administrator for the Town of Belmont. They will focus on the 2005 accomplishments of Belmont and Watertown and what lies ahead for 2006 in both of these communities. At this time, I would like to introduce a new company that's coming into town. A new venture is coming. It's exciting, and they are our corporate sponsor for today's lunch. Sponsoring the luncheon are representatives of the new retirement community that is being developed on the McLean Hospital campus. The name of the community is Freedom Commons at Belmont Hill, and the owner and manager of Freedom Commons is American Retirement Corporation, a senior living company based out of Brentwood, Tennessee. To my right, I have Peter Morrissey, President and CEO of Morrissey & Company, that is the ad agency for ARC. Next to him, I have Kathy Fishman. Kathy is the Marketing Director for Freedom Commons, and she's a local Winchester resident. Speaking today for American Retirement Corporation is Roger Teeley. He's Senior Director of Marketing and has been with ARC for 11 years. Mr. Teeley, would you like to come to the podium?
Thank you very much. And on behalf of American Retirement Corporation and Freedom Commons at Belmont Hill, it is truly our great pleasure to be here with you today. We have dreamed about the day of being your neighbor for a long time now, for over 7 years, and it's good to be here at this time. Someone that I met before speaking said, "Now your accent is not quite from this area, is it?" And I said, "No, my youngest son was born in Connecticut, and I claim New England as a part of my home for 5 years, but now I'm living in Tennessee." We sincerely appreciate the many people who have helped in the process through these years of bringing us to Belmont. And when American Retirement Corporation develops a new community, we are here to stay permanently. The question was asked earlier whether is this a development company that comes in, develops, and then leaves. No, ARC intends to be here and a part of this community for a long time to come. We've been in this business of enhancing the dignity and quality of life of senior citizens for over 28 years now. So ARC is very experienced in this field, focused on the field of senior living. And when we made the decision 7 years ago to invest in this area, it was a decision that not only involved a commitment of a significant financial resource, but also this is an emotional investment for us as a company. It is truly in the positive relationships that we will form with our residents, with their families, and with the individuals and businesses in this area that we believe will be what you can expect from American Retirement Corporation. ARC last year and the year before that was the winner of the Tennessee Business Ethics Award for both of those years, and we believe that as we become familiar with each other over time, that we'll earn your confidence as well. It is important to ARC to be a good corporate citizen and to be a part of the community. And we look for ways to partner with local organizations in each area where we operate, and civic groups as well. In this particular case, our expected development costs overall for this project are over $200 million. And that's the initial development. Then on an ongoing basis, the annual operating budget for this community will be over $20 million, with about half of that being in payroll cost for 250 jobs that will be created as a part of this community. So that will bring along that economic investment along with the local taxes, obviously, that would be paid as well. So we believe there are true benefits not only for the towns, for the residents, also for the local real estate values as well. The perfect example of ARC's commitment to a long relationship is that we are still managing the first community that we were ever involved with back in 1979 in East Lansing, Michigan. And overall now, American Retirement Corporation is operating in 20 states with 14,000 residents, and we have 82 retirement communities across the U.S. Your new neighbor, Freedom Commons at Belmont Hill, will offer a wellness-focused lifestyle for those that are over the age of 62 and who enjoy living independently today, but who want the peace of mind of knowing that if they need health care in the future, that will be available on the same campus for them. In this community, we'll have approximately 291 independent living condominiums, and then we'll also have another 100 apartments, condominiums that are for those who need some health care, assisted living, memory enhancement, or skilled nursing. So a total of almost 400 units on the campus. For the independent living condominiums, the average price range for those condominiums will be between $500,000 to $600,000. But there will be a broad range beside that average, so that including affordable units as well, so that we believe we'll be able to have something that appeals to residents in very diverse needs across this area. We'll also have, let's see, here in this area we've been working with the local design team of DeMilla Schaefer. They have many years of experience in this area, but also nationally in developing retirement communities, and we're proud to be involved with them. They're based in Boston, and we have charged them with creating an environmentally friendly design. You know that the campus on McLean is a beautiful campus, and so they are very familiar with what we have in mind and are very close to finishing the design process now for the community. Local residents who currently enjoy walking on the McLean campus will be pleased at the additional nature trails that are being added and the walking areas around Freedom Commons. We also want to thank and congratulate the League of Women Voters. You're probably aware that they did an outstanding job in surveying over 1,200 Belmont senior citizens over the last couple of years and released the results of their survey last year. Those results confirmed that older adults in this area share the same positive view about aging that we share. Hear this quote from their survey. It said, "The successes of medical research, together with better diets and better living conditions, have enabled people to live longer and healthier lives. For a great many, old age is a dynamic time for enjoying life, for continued well-being, and for intellectual growth." Freedom Commons at Belmont Hill will be a beautiful place, but more importantly, it will be a place to live well, where daily opportunities will help our residents maximize their health, their wholeness, and their fulfillment in life. And it's also going to be a place where residents will have fun learning, creating, and doing. It was our intention today, as the corporate sponsor for this event, to convey that American Retirement Corporation and Freedom Commons at Belmont Hill are excited to become your new neighbors, but also to let you know that we want to be and are committed to become a positive asset for these communities where we'll operate. You'll be able to find out more details on an ongoing basis from Kathy Fishman, our Director of Marketing, also from Gary Rossi, our Executive Director, who's already been hired, not able to be here today. But our sales office will be open on the McLean campus around the end of April, early May. There will be signs on the campus that can direct you up to that sales office. If you're familiar with the campus, it will be located kind of to the right side as you come into the campus, over by the chapel area. So that will be available very shortly. But please give us a chance today after the luncheon to get to know you, to meet you, to ask additional questions. We have a little bit of information over on the table here, and we hope to have the opportunity to meet you today. Thank you very much for letting us participate in your luncheon.
Thank you, Roger. And lunch is being served, so I think at this time we will enjoy lunch, and in about 20 minutes I will introduce the speakers and we'll start the program. Thank you. As you continue to enjoy your lunch, we're going to continue with the program. Before I introduce the speakers, I would like to say thank you to Bob Kapralian and Alex Bisnick from the Watertown Community Access Center for cable coverage today, and also to Chris Lowe from the Watertown Tavern Press. Thank you both. For those that couldn't be here with us today, they can enjoy it on TV or read about us in the newspaper. Okay, at this time I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker, and he is Thomas Younger, Town Administrator for the Town of Belmont. Thomas Younger has served as Town Administrator for the Town of Belmont since April of 2005. Previous to that, he served as Town Administrator for the towns of North Reading, Norton, and Oak Bluffs, Massachusetts. This includes being the Town Accountant for the Town of Oak Bluffs. Mr. Younger was also the State Real Property Transactions Manager for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Division of Capital Planning and Operations. Mr. Younger received a bachelor's degree in journalism with a minor in political science from Boston University and a master's degree in public administration from Suffolk University. He is an active member of the Massachusetts Municipal Management Association and of the International City Management Association. Mr. Younger lives in Belmont with his wife, daughter, and son. He also was raised in Belmont and graduated from the Kendall Elementary School, Belmont Junior High, and Belmont High School. At this time, may I introduce Town Administrator of Belmont, Mr. Thomas Younger.
Thank you, Brenda. And I usually think I'm getting rushed out of dinner to go to a selectmen's meeting. This was even faster to come up here. Thank you for letting me speak here. It's my first time before the Chamber of Commerce. I actually had been hired last spring but had not started in Belmont at the time when you were tentatively scheduling to have this. This was actually a nice break from this week. It's actually been an interesting week. Started off Monday with, I thought, a short selectmen's meeting. My chairman of my board, Dr. Solomon's here, which started at 6:30. I thought would be out by 8 o'clock. We were out by 11 o'clock. And then as I'm driving home, I get a phone call. There's a suspicious item in a part of Belmont on a house. Maybe you should come down. I said, well, if it's more than suspicious, give me a call. And I just get into my house, and then I hear, well, it may be some type of bomb. So my first response was, I'll be there, and I just asked my wife, can I take your car? Of course, the response was, no, you can't. She actually had no problem with me going to the site. Apparently, she looked at, okay, it's on the job. I know how much insurance you have. Where's the downside? So went there, spent about 2 hours in the evening and morning there till about 1 a.m. Didn't bring gloves, didn't bring hats. It was cold, and we had just had a budget meeting that evening regarding our budget, and I had reduced a police cruiser from our budget. First thing I see there is a police cruiser parked in front of the so-called bomb. So as I looked at it and said, geez, I just cut that out of the budget. It's not probably a good place to park it. But our police department and fire department did really well, and I had about a few hours sleep. And the first thing I hear Tuesday morning when I get up is, with about 4 hours sleep, my father calls me, who also lives in Belmont. And my father basically is a Monday morning quarterback because he watches the selectmen's meetings now. So first thing he called me and said, did you see that selectmen's meeting Monday night? And my first response is, Dad, I'm a season ticket holder. So it was very good to be here, and a pleasure, and I thank you very much. And Brenda did a very nice job with my background and resume, but for some of you who don't know, I actually did live in Watertown for about 6 months after I left graduate school, and that's how I actually got in this business. I was renting an apartment on Mount Auburn Street, down by, I think it's Greg's Restaurant, down there next to the church, and I was working for the Morgan Memorial Goodwill Industries. I was in their finance office. And I was thinking of, well, maybe I should get into town management. I had worked some in the federal government. And I was sending out resumes. And I had started my first job, I'd mentioned Oak Bluffs. I had put my resume, and this was before computers. You had to type up your cover letter and type up your resume. And I put it in the envelope. And the problem was, I'd never been on Martha's Vineyard. I really had no desire to go there. But how I got into this business? And when you're living in an apartment and all that, and you're starting out, you're living dime to dime, check to check. I couldn't peel the stamp off the envelope. I tried pulling it off. I couldn't get it off, so I said, this was when you had to lick them. I said, okay, I'll mail it off. And that's how I started in this business, is I interviewed and got the job. So I actually owe some to Watertown to being here. Thank you. Now, I don't know actually, because it's my first time here, of how you handle this and how you discuss items. But I think first is, as Mike was telling me, is what's happened in the past year I've been there. Well, there's been some very interesting issues and projects in Belmont in the past year, and I know there's some representatives from Belmont. I see Mr. Tossi back there, and some other representatives from the Belmont business community. What's happened is there's been a lot of capital work that has been actually taken years to begin, has started in Belmont. First, the town hall reconstruction projects. Both buildings have actually been opened now. They were approved a number of years ago with an override debt exclusion, and they're actually very good buildings to work within. They had some challenges. They're in their historic district, and the project had to be met with their approval and such, but they're excellent buildings. Our employees love being in them, and actually the public is having a very interesting time with them, because we've actually included, through Dr. Solomon's work with us, is that we have an art gallery on the upper floor of the town hall, which I welcome all of you to please visit. We just opened up a new exhibit there this week, wonderful photography exhibit. And it's part of what we're trying to work with Belmont Center here, is trying to orient town buildings and municipal buildings with the public. And I thank Dr. Solomon and the rest of the individuals who had worked on that project to get the gallery up in speed. And I welcome everybody from Belmont and Watertown to come down there and please visit. We just recently had the Belmont Senior Center was approved at a debt exclusion vote for about a little over $6 million. It will be built on the site of my former elementary school, the Kendall School, which burnt down a number of years ago. And a state-of-the-art senior center will be built there. As you well know, a number of senior center for probably at least close to almost 10 years or so has been at the Our Lady of Mercy's Senior Center, actually Parish Center. And that will be moving hopefully in 2 years to the Senior Center. And we all welcome everybody from Watertown and Belmont to visit the site when it gets up and running, because we're very proud of that, and our seniors are very proud. And we thank our voters also for voting the debt exclusion. It was very important to us. Also, as you drive through Belmont, and you all remember, because those fire stations were there forever, we had 3 fire stations. One in Waverly Square, one in the Belmont Center, and one on the Harvard Lawn area down by Cambridge. The board, through the support of the town, was able to consolidate the 3 stations into 2. And we are in the process of actually disposing of the 3 stations. It's almost like the 3 bears. They all have little different issues amongst them. We did sell the Waverly Square Fire Station for condominium units. And if you drive by there, it's called Engine 1. They're doing a wonderful job in there, converting that to about 6 or 7 condominium units. We worked in conjunction with the Historic District Commission as an advisory role, and they worked very, very well. And we think that's going to be a plus for the community down there. And we're hoping that they'll be up and running within the end of the year and getting people in there. The second fire station, which we will be selling, is in Belmont Center. That's the second of the 3 bears. That one is probably a commercial use. There's been a lot of discussion about having a restaurant use in there. It's the center of the community. We have issued an RFP. The due date is, I think, May 15th. And we're looking to get some type of commercial use in that building. Obviously, we now have also liquor licenses in Belmont. We're getting close, moving more and more toward what most other communities have, and that will be available for any restaurant that has 130 seats to purchase in there. We've also worked with the Historic District Commission on that site, because it's rather important. It was a historically significant building. It's eligible for the National Register of Historic Buildings. And we ended up with a basic agreement amongst all parties of how to dispose of that, and I was very appreciative. That's the one thing we've tried to doing now under the Board of Selectmen's in my administration here, is a lot of interaction amongst boards, committees, and the public, and that's why I want to speak a little further about getting the business community and my interaction, what I want to see with the business community, and particularly Belmont, who's there, but also with Watertown here also. Another item which we're very, very proud of is cemetery construction in Belmont, up near where the McLeans and the ARC is doing their construction. Belmont, for those who are from Belmont, and maybe some who are known in Watertown, we have had literally no cemetery space for years. It's been sold out. Generally, if you've bought a lot, you can go in, but there's no available space. After a number of years, the cemetery construction up off of Concord Ave, the rear of Concord Ave near the Belmont Hill Club, has begun underway. And they started selling the lots this week. We made over $400,000 in less than a few days of the sale of lots for that property. And you know how some places have pay-as-you-throw, we have pay-as-you-go. And they did very, very well, and we're very pleased with them. And if you go up there, it's going to be landscaped very well. If you're looking up there right now, you just see bulldozers and cranes and so forth. But give it some time, and it'll be actually a landmark for the Belmont community. Another issue, and this deals with everybody in this building here, Pleasant Street reconstruction project. How many have gone through that? How many have had flat tires in Pleasant Street? Okay. I had that before I started the job. If it waited another month later, I may have been able to do something about it, but it happened a month before. Rose Corporation is doing the project. They are scheduled to go back on the site mid-April, and then once they finish the side from the Trapello Road site up to Belmont Center, then they'll be beginning the Belmont Center to Route 2 area. That is a major, major plus for the community. That's the one thing I have actually heard so much about, even when I wasn't the town administrator, is the road conditions in Belmont. And I'm going to go into that in a few minutes of what the Board of Selectmen have wisely looked at to try to resolve the roads problem in the next, hopefully, next 2 weeks. We've also brought in some interesting personnel changes here. And one of my discussions when I was interviewed by the Board of Selectmen is my management philosophy of bringing people in, is bringing people in as a team effort, is that we look to work as a team. It's not just necessarily an individual effort. So I brought people in, and the Board has supported this, who work as a group for common needs. First is we had to replace our assessing administrator. I brought down my former assessing director from the town of North Reading. Key with Mr. Simmons is Mr. Simmons works very well with the public. I'm very interested in how we can deal with constituent issues. And he was brought down. Obviously, my former town wasn't happy that I brought a department head with me, but, well, actually, I did take a department head from Watertown once to North Reading, and he loved working for me so much he went back to Watertown. He's sitting here, so he knows who he is. But he's worked out. The assistant town administrator, I looked at differently. I mean, when we were getting applications in. And I wanted somebody who was not a carbon copy of Tom Younger. I wanted to get somebody who could bring something else to the table. I didn't need somebody else who knew how to budget or who knew how to draft an RFP for a fire station. So brought in the former director of constituent affairs for the House Minority Leader, because constituent affairs is very important to me in Belmont. And I wanted somebody in there who knew how to respond to the public, work with the public, because the worst thing you can do is basically have a constituent issue, have it sit in your desk for 3 months, and then resolve it. You have absolutely no credibility at that point. So we brought him in. Third on the team is we used to have a kind of like a planning manager type of person. And I wanted somebody who could work with the business community. The board ended up working with me to develop a planning and economic development manager. And his name's Shay Skloot. He's still learning the ropes here, but he had that same position in the town of Hull. We're working with him, and he's working on various projects, including the 40B project for O'Neill down on the Cambridge line, some changes in Cushing Square and such. So we're glad he's on board. We're also working in a much more cooperative effort with the school department. As you all know, you can't live in a vacuum. It can't be, as far as I'm concerned, you can't have this side of the fence and that side of the fence. There is no school department and town government. It's municipal government. And that's where I look at the schools. And we've been very cooperatively working with the superintendent and his departments, as well as us, on our budget process. And this is the first year, at least, from what I understand in Belmont, we've actually worked on a cooperative process with the school superintendent where we didn't say at this point, here's X amount of dollars, work with it. What did you need? What did town government need? And let's try to work that together. And we've been successful. The unfortunate thing is both towns' needs and schools' needs are greater than what we have budgeted. And that's what we're going to discuss in a few minutes. Also, working very, very closely with community development. I took that as a main interest in all my towns I've worked in. I work almost daily with our Director of Community Development, our planning area, on issues that involve business communities and residents. So very important on there. But what is on the horizon? And we talked about budgets. the board came up with a very innovative program, because as we said, the biggest issue that we keep hearing about is our roads. We have approximately 71 miles of road. Actually, the same amount of miles of roads as in Watertown as I was looking today. I think you have about 71, 72 miles of roadway, Mike? Right. So it's actually almost equivalent as far as that goes, but ours are not in the best of shape. So what we are looking at in 2 weeks, and we hope this is passed, is a $3 million capital stabilization, not capital stabilization, a road stabilization fund, where it locks in a minimum of $3 million a year for road repairs and road maintenance and road reconstruction in the town from here for eternity. And the plus about that is we can't move it around. We can actually plan for the next 15 years what our road work is going to be done. We don't have to worry about that being shifted to the school budget or general government budget, because legally it can't be. So we'll have projects. In fact, our community development director has sent out a list of what road work will be done, because if we have the $3 million. If we don't have the $3 million, the road work is not going to get done. You'll have at best $1 million a year in the operational budget. And it may not even be that year to year because of other needs. This is, I think, very innovative. I don't know of any other community that recently has tried it. This has been a change in the law recently. And I think, to be honest with you, it protects us from ourselves. It locks us in. It's a planning process, which I'm very much in tune to, that we need planning. We need, any municipality, you need to plan out. And that I can know for the next 10 years, and Dr. Solomon knows this too because he's seen the list, we know what roads are going to be worked on for the next 10 years. The public knows what roads are going to be worked on next year. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. They can actually see that the roads are going to get repaired instead of having the calls in every day about when's Grove Street going to get fixed, when's Bright Road going to get fixed. They will know. It's going to be on our website. It's very, very important. Unfortunately, and this is the flip side, is if it doesn't pass, what is the state of the towns? Not good. And I'm just speaking that from towns that have basically a residential tax base. And let's say Watertown, which has actually a reasonably healthy commercial and business tax base. Just asking out there, and I've just shared it at my table, what do you think is the residential tax base in Belmont, percentage-wise? Any? Okay, well, close. It's 95%. Is the residential tax base. 5% of that is business, commercial. You generally can't run the budget on 95% being residential tax base and having it totally on the residential areas. There's no growth there. And the issue with that is the expenses in the towns are going higher than what Proposition 2.5 allows you. Health insurance. I know I've been reading Watertown's going through some probably issues of negotiations regarding health insurance in Watertown. Belmont is going through the same process of trying to make changes in the health insurance as far as benefits to their employees. The issue is the health insurance rates have been going up higher than generally what our budget allows. So when we're technically allowing a 2.5%, a 3% increase in our operating budget, health insurance has been going up, I've seen as high as 20% in some communities. Another item also is utility costs. Utility costs have been increasing much higher. Fuel costs, everybody here has been paying the gas bill going to the gas station. You've seen what's increased there. Those who, including myself, who have a gas in their house have seen their gas bills skyrocketing to a point where it's actually, I'm turning down the heat and the cat and the dog are becoming my new best friends in there. But it's something that we cannot, you cannot raise without some assistance. We have cut our budgets. I can probably speak for Mike. There is no fat in Mike's budget there. I mean, there is no waste. There is no waste in any of these communities. And most of these communities are looking at override elections. I was just noticing today, I think the town of Wayland is looking at about a $2.4 million override in the next month or so. Lexington is looking for over $4 million in an override. The state is not giving enough funds to a number of communities to offset these increases. Belmont literally got about a $400,000 increase in state aid this year. Comparative to a number of other communities, that was minimal. The plus side on that is I'm not worried about they're going to be cut further because it was only a $400,000 increase. Other communities have gotten in excess of $1.2 to $1.3 million. So that definitely has to be addressed. As far as any of the reductions in the budget, and we've been talking about this, there are areas that Belmont will be addressed in is if the override fails, there is road maintenance issues that will be addressed. There is personnel issues. There are recreational programs that will not be continued. There'll be maintenance programs in the town that will not be continued, including issues with the fields. Our building maintenance program will start dropping. It just comes down to is what you want the town to be, what your image. I've always said that in every community I've been in. Don't just compare yourself to a Watertown or a Winchester or a Somerville or Bedford or whatever. What do you want the town to be? What is your image of the town to be? And how can we get there? Just because someone does it a certain way doesn't mean you have to do it another way, because it depends on where your focus is and what you think is important. And at this point, obviously, the Board of Selectmen and myself have thought at this point that our roads are very important in the town of Belmont, because everybody utilizes that. Everybody in this room utilizes it. Even if you're not paying taxes in Belmont, you're utilizing those roads. And I think it's very important. But as far as the future goes, the things we're doing differently, and this is with the business community in mind, I'm glad I'm here with the business community, is we're trying to work with you. You are not my enemy. I want the business community in here. I want a flourishing business community in Belmont. And we want your input. Case in point was yesterday, Dr. Solomon and I had a dinner conversation with some individuals last week who were having trouble developing a business in another community, not in Watertown, but it was another community. And I asked, well, why don't you come in, sit down, maybe something we can do for you in Belmont. Came in, Dr. Solomon, myself, my planning office, the assessor. We sat down for an hour with them about what their ideas were. It may or may not work in Belmont, but what they came out of that is that if this project doesn't work, they want to do business in Belmont now. They're interested in doing some other projects, possibly business in Belmont. You know why? We sat down with them. We showed them attention. We said, this is not coming, we're not your end, we want you to come in here. We want the tax base, we want to work with you. And that's the way I want to work with all the businesses in Belmont. You know, there has always been a feeling that Belmont is not business friendly. I can't live in the past, I'm living to the future. And what I want to do is make this a friendly community for both residents and businesses. My door is always open, my phone is always available. It may not be the next day, I may not be able to schedule the meeting with you, but we will do it. And I thought it was very successful yesterday, and I've done this with other businesses too. They may not follow up on it, but I'm making the effort to have come in. The Belmont Center Planning Group has been an offshoot of this through the Board of Selectmen and myself. We've been working with the Belmont Center businesses to see what we can bring in down there, what we can do to improve the area. In fact, the first Saturday in April, they're having what's known as a charrette, a large public meeting at the Belmont High School to discuss what things can be changed down there and what issues can be involved and what we can do to make it better. And I have some recommendations too, and I think we're working toward that. I think it's very, very important for us. Some other areas that we're looking at coming down the road here is I'm going to have to be hiring a new police chief. Actually, the Board of Selectmen does. I'm sorry, in my old job, I hired the police chief. In Belmont, the Board of Selectmen hires the police chief. I got to get used to that. But we're going through the process now of looking and searching for a new police chief. And that's very important. And I think how the police chief works with the community is very important too. There's looking at the Wellington Elementary School, for some of us who still call that the old high school, is looking at being replaced in the near future, and that may be an election within the next debt exclusion election in the next year. Way down the road, and I'm so jealous of Watertown of how you funded your DPW facility, because we're looking at possibly a new DPW facility years down the road in Belmont, and usually DPW facilities are the last ones that usually get renovated, generally out of sight, out of mind. Unfortunately, when it's been out of sight, out of mind for too long, it actually gets to a point where it's actually not usable. And so we'll be looking at that as far as the work on that in the next few years. Also, as we discussed earlier, is we have already in the process of selling one fire station, sold the third one we hope will be up for sale by the end of the year. That's on the Harvard Lawn area of Fairview Ave. It's actually closer to the Watertown Cambridge line than the other two. It's in a residential area. It will probably be utilized for residential purpose. It's zoned for single or two-family home, and that is probably what the use would be, some type of residential use down at that site. And that may be going out sometime late fall. And generally, right, that was in conclusion, and I'm sorry, obviously we're taking questions and answers, I think after Mike's done. And I know Mike's got a bigger list than that because he has 2 years' worth of work to discuss. I'm still in my 1-year probationary period, I think for another few weeks, so everything is still reasonably good, but I want to work with Watertown. We're not separate, it's Watertown Belmont. I mean, my son plays for Watertown Belmont Pop Warner football, so it's effort here, and being a longtime Belmont resident and growing up here, I'm just very pleased to be back here and working with both communities. So thank you very much, and Mike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom. Next guest speaker is Michael Driscoll, Town Manager of Watertown. Michael J. Driscoll has worked for the Town of Watertown for almost 29 years. Last month, Mr. Driscoll began his 14th year as Town Manager for the Town of Watertown. As Town Manager, Mr. Driscoll has strived to provide a clear picture of the town's commitment to sound financial management and fiscal ability, address the town's capital equipment, facilities, and infrastructure, and to provide the highest level of services to the citizens of Watertown while utilizing the taxpayers' dollars as efficiently as possible. At this time, may I introduce Town Manager Michael J. Driscoll.
Thank you, Brenda. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure. The police chief reminds me of the standing line I use. It's always a pleasure to come to an event that everyone's smiling. With respect to the Board of Selectmen meeting starting at 6:30 and ending at 8, and you were concerned about 11, you should come over in Watertown where we're doing a lot of, so that's an early evening. But again, the event's supposed to run to 1:30. It's going to run a lot longer. They didn't hold the event last year, so I've got 2 years' worth of information we need to put forward. So, but again, one of the things that I would like to talk about in start and end with the discussion is about the town's past, the present, and the future. In the town's past, there was 2 events since we last talked about this, having this wonderful event, and was the town's 375th anniversary. Got a young lady sitting in the right here, Joyce Munger, who is the co-chair of events, that although we're working today and we're working for the future, it's also very important to think of the past. So certainly the town council appropriated monies to have a year-long series of events celebrating Watertown's 375th anniversary. And to that, I'd like to thank Joyce Munger, with Chairman Strangelo, and all the fine committee members. And thank you, Joyce. Another event that was held, and certainly another institution that Watertown has, is the Perkins School for the Blind. In May 2005, working with all the town departments, particularly the police department, the fire department, the Perkins School for the Blind celebrated, they had an open house for their 175th anniversary. And the Boston Globe had, in the last couple of years, wrote that the Boston Globe recently had called Perkins the least known world-famous institution in Boston. And President Steve Rothstein had indicated that he wanted to make that a change by welcoming all the neighbors and friends to celebrate the school's 175th anniversary. Perkins School for the Blind, we're very, very pleased to have in Watertown. As you all know, is located on North Beacon Street. Perkins serves over 60,000 people who are blind or visually impaired with multiple disabilities, from babies to school-age children to adults, here in 55 developing countries across the world. And in Watertown, the 38-acre beautiful campus, if you will, it houses 200 full-time students are enrolled there, as well as on weekends and on school vacations. 600 other students from public schools come there. So that's a little bit of what the past, what Watertown's done in the last year, if you will, to recognize the past. Briefly want to talk about the town's finances. Mr. Younger alluded to. One of the things we've done in the last 2 years, fiscal year '05 and fiscal year '04 and fiscal year '05, the revenues that came in over budget and the expenditures that came under budget in those 2 fiscal years totaled $2.1 million. I know Mr. Solomon was very concerned about how much more money Watertown had in Belmont, but we don't have that much money. But that was, the last 2 years was a very, very well done by, Mr. Younger alluded to about the team in Belmont, the team in Watertown, which most of the people, it was a mandatory attendance, so most everyone is here today anyways. But that being said, just simply without getting into the arithmetic, in fiscal year 2003, the town's unreserved fund balance was $4.3 million. In that 2 periods, in the last 24 months, it's now $5.7 million, which is almost 7% of our operating budget. So certainly that speaks well, bodes well for what has, if you will, the last couple of years has gone on. The local aid that the town of Watertown lost in fiscal year '02 to fiscal year '04 was $2 million. But our unreserved fund balance today is $300,000 higher than what it was in fiscal year 2002. And that is in addition, that is by still dealing with over a $2 million loss in local aid. So certainly commercial tax base and a variety of other issues is certainly one of the components to making Watertown is fiscally strong as of June 30th of '05. One of the things that we've done, and it is interesting, the folks who came up here and talked about the moving forward with the McLean development here, is that Watertown had the same thing. We all know in the Arsenal Fund, with the sale of the Arsenal, the town utilized since fiscal year 1999 through 2005 over $12.2 million to fund capital projects. Of that $12.2 million, $7.4 was to pay for and renovate and expand the brand-new public works facility. Mr. Mees here, Mr. Young has cited about out of sight, out of mind. The last to do in Watertown, the last to do, and I'll get to that at the end, is the police station. But in essence, we've done our public works facility, and we'll talk more about that. As of fiscal year '05, we don't have any more Arsenal funds, so we said, okay, what are we going to do to provide the capital project monies that we've been using since fiscal year 1999? Well, to the town council's credit, Watertown, Belmont, and 21 other communities belong to Neswick. And Neswick was like a 5-letter word that really was a 4-letter word, and certainly we were paying for trash to sending over to North Andover of the price was like $150 a ton, and the market today is about $68. So we're out of that contract. Belmont's out of that contract. Watertown's out of that contract. But one of the pluses that we've done in kind of a prudent move was that we, back many years ago, financed more monies than we needed. So we knew that it was going up and escalating. What we wanted to do was flatline the budget. So by doing that after fiscal year 2005, which was June 30th, '05, the town of Watertown had over $3 million set aside because we level funded it in a conservative approach, if you will. Now we've got, for fiscal year 2006, the budget we're in right now, all the way through 2011, we'll have $500,000 a year to put to capital. And so we've got to come up with some other issues for 2012, but we'll think about that, but not today. Anyways, Mr. Younger touched upon some about budget issues, and I want to talk about everything is rosy in Watertown regarding fiscally. The bottom line is healthy, but that can change very quickly. Today we're faced with, in the next 3 weeks, submitting a budget that today the expenditures, estimated expenditures, are $1.5 million more than the revenues. That's driven predominantly by health insurance costs in Watertown, in Belmont, and any other city and town in the Commonwealth. Health insurance are raising far greater. Our 2.5 levy increase is $1.4 million. Our forecasted expenses for health insurance is 1.6. So that's not even factoring in any of the costs for the services provided, whether it's for firefighters, police officers, the services that the public works, the school teachers paying. It is, right now, Watertown's forecast for fiscal year '07, '08, and '09 is that that appropriation will go up by $4.1 million. That can't happen. We'll be looking to have further dialogue how we proceed with that, but unfortunately, that's a significant problem that needs to be addressed, and we will look to address that. Mr. Younger talked about insurance cost. I would just, it's another budget issue that everyone, whether it's our homes, whether it's our cities or towns. I told you several years ago that the town of Watertown negotiated a 4-year deal to buy our energy back for 2002 through 2006. We got a flat fee, flat rate of 4.7 kilowatt per hour. Well, we went out and did the bidding again to try to do a long-term bidding. Council authorized a term up to 5 years. Some communities were going 2 years. I thought that was too long. We did authorize and enter into an agreement for a 5-year agreement beginning September 2006 to 2011. So that's the good news. The bad news is the contract that runs up to 2006 was 4.7 kilowatt per hour. The new contract is 9.825, so double. In Watertown, we're spending about $2 million a year out of the $83 million general fund budget for utilities. That's going up. Again, when you're talking just the health insurance alone, we certainly have got a lot to cover today, so I'm not going to go through all the budget issues. They're similar in what's in Watertown, what's in Belmont. The next topic I want to touch upon is infrastructure. The town did do 2 borrowings since the last time we got together, totaling $1.8 million, predominantly for departmental equipment, parks. We've got our town clerk, chief election officer John Flynn here today. The town authorized back in June of '05 $85,000 to be appropriated to buy a new election tabulation system that was no longer able to be repaired. It was purchased in 1991. The other, predominantly the $1.8 million of borrowing, was related to the big ticket item was an aerial platform truck for the fire department. Again, the town's commitment to, if you will, not defer any maintenance or recognition of capital costs for facilities is certainly continuing to look to do that. With respect to our parks and recreation, I would respectfully suggest that you can go to, you will not find any other community in the Commonwealth that has as nice park facilities as we have. We have, with the town council's authorization, in the last 5 years, have put rubber surfaces in every one of our parks. Mr. Younger alluded to earlier about going to Greg's Restaurant. When I go down there to picking up some food, it was a young couple there from Belmont who spoke very highly of the town of Belmont, but also talked about Philipella Park, which is the water park. So certainly, the community should be very, very proud of the recreational facilities. The town council's appropriated almost $2 million for the skating rink to kind of renovate that, adding a bunch of locker rooms, and continuing a new ice surface and all new refrigeration equipment. Watertown Square, I've talked about that before. It's the town council appropriated almost $1.8 million. There was 2 parts to that. One was doing the mill and overlay. The other one was for the sidewalk improvements, street trees, landscaping, the street lighting, the street furniture, and the crosswalks. And that project is predominantly done. There are some punch list issues that need to get done. And that'll be done in the spring. Certainly Mr. Watson and Mr. May are getting tired of getting emails from me finding out when that'll be done. The Public Works facility, again, Mr. Younger mentioned earlier about the Public Works facility at times that it gets beyond repair. In Watertown, they did a facility assessment study in 1999, and the exact quote was, "The Department of Public Works facility is the most seriously deteriorated town-owned building. The Department of Public Works building is in serious state of disrepair and requires replacement of virtually every building system in order to remain a functional facility." Well, I'm very proud today to say that we, the town of Watertown, have renovated and expanding a brand-new public works facility on Orchard Street with a salt shed. The cost was $10.4 million, and the town utilized arsenal proceeds funds for $7.4 million and then borrowed the $3 million to finance that project. With respect to the schools, I've talked about this before, the town council since 1995 has appropriated over $45 million. 19.9 was a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion. The remaining monies was done within the budget. We had been looking for our school building assistants. You probably read about that in the Globe, how they've changed what they used to do. They give you 60% reimbursement and pay for it over 20 years. Now what they do is they'll do an audit and they'll pay you up front. So what we did in the fall of 2004 is we went out and borrowed our remaining monies, $9 million on long-term borrowing. We got an interest rate of 3.98% over 20 years, and then we're receiving a check from the Commonwealth. So again, all of the town's school buildings have been renovated and expanded, including one of the things that at the tables we're talking about. In the high school itself, we've got a brand-new cable access studio that the town entered into agreement with Comcast in 2004 for a 10-year agreement, as Mr. Solomon indicated in Belmont, that the Comcast wanted to get out of the business. Watertown was taking over PEG, if you will, as public access governmental programming. We've got the distinct pleasure of having this being broadcast to the citizens of the community. It's kind of a twofer that Comcast gave us the monies to build a brand new state-of-the-art studio in the high school. So not only do we have the abilities to improve the programming for the citizens of the community, we also, our children, our students who go to Watertown High School have the abilities to have the access and use that state-of-the-art studio. And we, in the town council, September of 2004, appointed 9 board of directors to run that as a 501c status. We've got Robert Caprillion here today as one of the board of directors members. His wife and his family tease him that microphone has been pinched to his hand since been appointed as a board of director. But again, to the credit of the Cable Access Corporation, they've done a fine job, and it certainly is only going to get better when we move forward with our moving on RCN, which is currently an open video systems agreement. We're looking to do a full license. It would look to get some of the even playing field that Comcast would look for, and I would actually envision, once we start that process, I think Verizon will come knocking at our door. And quite honestly, competition is always a good thing to have happen. The last infrastructure project that I wanted to talk about is the library. And the library, in my estimation, in August of 2006, this year, you will see a project that is on time, on budget. A new state-of-the-art facility, again, is scheduled to open in August. It'll have the latest in wireless technology, including out the loaning of laptops, not to leave the building, but to be able to use within the building itself. The children's department is going to be triple the size. There'll be a 200-person meeting room, a cafe, a bookstore, more space to grow the collections of books, movies, and music. It'll be completely handicapped accessible, and unlike the previous building. And the original 1884 building is being completely renovated as well. So the expansion is going to go from 22,000 square feet to 46,000 square feet. Demolish the 2 additions and the new construction around the original building. There'll be, as I mentioned earlier, there'll be 54 public computers. They'll be loaned out within the building for wireless access to internet, which can be checked out with the library card. There's a new website that's the library has put forward, donated by Blue Robin Company, which is actually going to be the company doing the website for the cable for the Chamber of Commerce. And one of the issues moving forward, and that project is another one of the creative ways that we've financed our capital projects. It was 3 sources of monies. One of them was a grant from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners for $2,972,408. The trustees have pledged and moving forward to borrow to raise $1.6 million in fundraising. They've raised $1 million to date. And the remaining monies, if you will, which is today, if the trustees can come up with another $600,000, and it's my hope when that building opens that people continue to contribute and cut into the remaining $600,000 to do. But if that happens, and they've raised $1 million today, which is a wonderful tribute to the chair of the library trustees and all the trustees, Ms. Mastrangelo, If that happens, the remaining $600,000, the town will have built that, renovated that state-of-art library facility, and would be paid, the tax dollars in Watertown would be 59.6%, and outside monies or contribution would be another 40.4%. So that, again, is another wonderful thing going on. I'll move quickly to community development. There's many things going on. We have our community development plan director today, Greg Watson, here today with us. Some of the things that are going on in Watertown related to and I'll talk quickly on the development projects. Belmont has Pleasant Street. Watertown has Pleasant Street. Okay. I think Pleasant Street in Belmont is a little worse shape, but there would be a debate is exactly where it is. But on that, to that end, on Pleasant Street, we've got Beacon Properties that are going to moving forward. That's the building, the former Quincy Cold Storage has been torn down. It's across from Stop and Shop on Pleasant Street. Beacon's recently received their approvals for the project to convert from rental to condominium and some associated site changes. Upon completion of the project, the units that would be developed would be 385 units of housing on approximately 13 acres along Pleasant Street, and with 60 of the units being for affordable housing will be added to Watertown's inventory. Another thing that's going on down the east end, we've got a couple of developments at Grove Street. The aggregate site has been sold. There's been some discussions with a local development company trying to determine how to move forward with that. Another a recent development in East Watertown is the Atrium School. The long-standing has been at the Brown School in the West End, are now going into a building on 69 Grove Street, and we're very, very pleased with that. Signed a long-term lease to have their home there in East Watertown, and have had a community meeting with the East Watertown folks, and they're going to be looking to have that open in September 2006. Another issue that Watertown's proud of is Watertown is now the broadcast home of the Boston Red Sox, and the Bruins have renovated a space in 480 Arsenal Street as their main studio. They've also recently received the occupancy permits and utilizing the renovating building while they continue to undertake some final improvements. A couple of churches in Watertown are being renovated as we speak. St. Teresa's and First Baptist Church, they're being renovated, and there'll be 14 condominiums going into both of those sites. And getting back to Pleasant Street, we talked about this. Mr. Solomon mentioned about a former owner of a property in Watertown, Mr. O'Neill's originally was looking to put in commercial, and then he ended up going housing, and our chairman of the Board of Assessors for Watertown is here today, is Dan Laughlin. You can tell that there is a significant increase in the residential versus some of the commercial, although we're seeing more of the commercial coming back. Interesting is that they're on Pleasant Street, which I'll speak to at the very end about the reconstruction of the street itself. There's two interesting developments coming forward on that. It's 270 and 290 Pleasant Street, which is the former Harts Mason building. Has gone under agreement with Fairfield Development to raise the existing structures and develop on that site a multifamily residential project. The community development staff is in preliminary discussions with the development team about the former brownfield site. And lastly, the other one on Pleasant Street is the owner of the former building at 290 Pleasant Street, which you've seen before. Now the ads, which was going to be a commercial building and never got occupied, is now going to be residential lofts, which is on the corner going around there. I quickly move through the town services. Mr. Younger alluded to earlier about a team approach. I'm very, very proud of the fact that the Watertown's administration team approaches everything in trying to, you'll see in the themes, the in and out department cooperation among all the departments is, quite frankly, is one of the most pleasant parts of the job. You'll see, particularly when we get into public safety, the interaction. I've spoke before about the various inter-department cooperation among the departments and the citizens of the community. I'm going to speak very quickly because everyone who came, I had to speak something about their service. So Public Works is here, Jerry Mee is here. I would respectfully suggest about Public Works, the theme with Public Works is they do more with less. And Mr. Me, when he first became the Superintendent of Public Works in 1993, broke down the divisional barriers, which is, I think, Belmont is considering doing and has considered doing. We have all the various divisions, whether it be highway, cemetery, forestry, and parks, and there isn't any of this issues, well, I work in parks and I'm not going to work on forestry. So certainly, to his credit, done that. With respect to the schools, we've got a new school superintendent who came, Dr. Steve Hershey, who came from Plymouth, Massachusetts, who came on board in August of 2004. He had the distinct pleasure of, or the task of replacing, filling positions, if you will, not actually replacing, every one of the principals in all of our schools. He's got a brand-new management team moving forward with that. One of the things that Dr. Hershey is focusing on within the school system is technology. The teachers are utilizing the technology to support their instruction in students and to utilizing the technology to support their learning. Mathematics instruction has been Dr. Hershey's focus point as he's looking to raise the MCAS scores for the math scores. And again, Dr. Hershey is a fine addition to the community and is working very, very hard. He's got all renovated buildings, and now he's just got to work on the various issues in the brand-new team. Technology highlights within the community. We've got with us today Nushi Robinson, who's purchasing agent, also working with Joe Mahoney, our data processing manager. The last 2 years, the town has had significant improvements in computer systems and hardware. The town council authorized a integrated financial system to be purchased. We're basically moving that on with integrated financial system this past year, going live with the accounting as of July 1 and payroll on January 1 of '06. And another issue, a significant improvement, has been our Watertown website, where now we've done and significant improvements where the residents are getting all kinds of information and can now pay their parking tickets and their excise tax online. Our Health and Human Services, again, I can't say enough. He's actually on vacation, as of a well-deserved vacation. Steve Ward, our Director of Public Health. Watertown's very, very fortunate to have him. He's been with Watertown since 1995. No one works harder than Steve Ward, and he continues to do a lot of work within the community, whether the hazardous material program that's been in the 6th year of existence, where we permit all of the commercial entities to make sure that everything's working forward, tobacco control programs. One of the things Tom Younger mentioned about Belmont and Watertown working together, we used to have an intermunicipal agreement with our animal control officers, but we've got so many dogs. We now, both of us have our own full-time one, but one of the things the community wanted to do is have the abilities to have a mutual aid agreement when there's an emergency. So when the dog and cat is getting too cold, then the Younger household will come out and help them. And our senior center is going into its 14th year of operation. Again, Ms. Fox does a wonderful job over there. They revised the Directory of Senior Services. We've actually got it on the web now, so there are a lot of families that can go on and check out for their loved ones in Watertown and actually help and send out information on the web. We've also worked very, very hard. We've got a brand-new senior bus. We've changed the routes. We've got a former Public Works employee who's retired, is now doing the driving. Another Human Services, another fine gentleman we have with us today is our Director of Veteran Services, Robert Erickson, in the back of the room. I would suggest to say that no one works harder for veterans in the Commonwealth. Bob has monthly Veterans Council meetings. He kind of shepherded along with Councilor Sedaris and a couple of Public Works employees to refurbish a World War I captured German cannon, refurbished it and put it back in service in a couple of Julys ago at Victory Field. Again, Mr. Erickson's efforts for the veterans are very much appreciated too. The last town services I wanted to talk about, and I know that the police chief and the fire chief would perhaps say is the most important, is public safety. And in Watertown, we are very, very blessed with the public safety chiefs that we have. We have, back in 2001, appointed Edward P. DeVoe, who's here with us today. He, back in 1999, one of the issues that the town did is we put out a household survey is what are we doing well? And the number one response was public safety. One of the things that the Chief DeVoe has done since coming on as the police chief is certainly involved the town in working with various communities on the, and I've talked about this before, about NEMLIC, which is kind of a consortium of police departments that can respond to various instances that Belmont or Watertown would never have the financial wherewithal to do on their own. We've had Watertown offices participate and work at the Democratic National Convention, at the World Series, and that's, those certainly are high-profile issues, but other serious events, that whether it be hostage issues, we've got Watertown police officers who are trained to go out and assist and work, and if we have an incident that happens in Watertown, they're coming to Watertown. So again, I want to thank Chief Doyle for that. I mentioned to you at the last time we spoke that Watertown Police Department has received their accreditation as the 12th department in the Commonwealth to receive that prestigious award back in June of 2003. They're now in the process of getting accredited to receive their accreditation again. And as Chief DeVoe has mentioned, sometimes that's harder than getting in first, because now you got to go out walk the walk. You got to prove that what you have said you would do. A couple of weeks ago, the 21st Citizens Police Academy just began. The Citizens Police Alumni Association has over 200 members in the community. I think Chief DeVoe always plans the graduations just before the budget hearings. So, and many years ago, I can remember walking in one of the Memorial Day parades, and a former graduate was riding a bike and actually almost tried to push me over and was indicating they needed more police funding. So they've got a very, very active group. Chief DeVoe working with the town council, working with the school department. We've got school resources offices at the middle and the high school. We've got the police department, and I spoke about this before, have a wonderful relationship with the schools. It's a critical issue that you see. You've got to have that. You've talked about a lot of things you read that are very, very sad in our cities and towns in the Commonwealth, and sometimes somebody said, geez, it'd be nice if there was a police officer in our schools. Well, they're there. Through Chief DeVoe's leadership, they're there. They've got a police athletic league, which is off-duty police officers go out and coach street hockey teams at Arsenal Park is beginning again. We continue to have a Cops and Kids program, which I believe is one of the only police departments that has this program. It remains a very, very popular after-school program with over several hundred students participating. One of the most, if you will, intriguing and popular programs for the Cops and Kids program is Dodgeball. And I love that movie, but again, Chief DeVoe's program and moving forward with the bicycle safety program, there's a variety of programs that, in one of the other things that in recent, and I've got a lot of attendees here today from the Watertown Savings Bank, and the Watertown Police Department is in the last several months, solved a bank robbery at Watertown Savings Bank in 22 minutes. So, and again, that was the efforts. One of the things Chief DeVoe has moved forward with is having all of the off-duty police officers having radios. And we had an off-duty police officer hearing that being broadcast over the radio, had actually seen the car, and the detectives went over in Waltham, over the Waltham line, and the perpetrator was changing out of clothes, et cetera, and within 22 minutes had been arrested. And again, that's just kind of an indicator of the fine work the men and women of the police department do. I respectfully suggest that the president of the Savings Bank email me probably the 23rd minute to tell me that they got him in the 22nd minute. Again, moving right on to the fire department, Chief Arangio was appointed in February 2004. Some of the highlights that the fire department has done: we've continued to have funding for 3 firehouses and continuous ALS, Advanced Life Support Services. In December of 2004, again, you'll see that interdepartmental cooperation. The fire department received a grant to install 250 smoke detectors in the homes of Watertown seniors. Worked with the council on aging to facilitate that. Received a $41,000 grant in February to purchase breathing air upgrades and firefighting tools. Additionally, one of the things the town council just recently appropriated monies. Town received a grant for almost $100,000 to put in emergency vehicle exhaust removal systems in all of our firehouses. And that was a federal grant. There was a $10,000, 10% grant, if you will, so $106,000 project in the town put up on or about $10,000 to do that. And the other item I wanted to talk about with public safety is emergency preparedness. When we alluded to earlier, Watertown's we've got an emergency preparedness team that meets on a regular basis, which includes myself, although I would respectfully suggest the 4 individuals I'm going to speak certainly do a lot more of that. The monthly meetings, if you will, is Chief DeVoe, Fire Chief Arangio, Director of Public Health Steve Ward, and our Superintendent of Public Works Jerry Mee. And one of the things that we're very proud of, and Chief DeVoe was appointed by the Secretary of Public Safety, Edward Flynn, as became, and not only working in light of what's going on, Governor Romney had put out a Homeland Security Regional Advisory Council, and Chief DeVoe was appointed to that. He actually, the Northeast group that Watertown's in, Belmont's in, and also is 85 cities and towns, and actually Chief DeVoe was actually not only appointed by Governor Romney and Secretary Edward Flynn, he was nominated and appointed as chairman of the Northeast Regional. So I certainly, Watertown is very, very proud of both of our public safety chiefs. And back into that end, in December of 2005, working with the League of Women Voters, the town had a emergency preparedness night, which was how Watertown and your family should prepare. The aftermath of September 11, 2001 and subsequent worldwide events had made us all realize our vulnerability. And to keep our communities informed and prepared, security and knowledge public information campaign was put together with Chief DeVoe's group working with the Homeland Security monies. The presentation made in December of 2005, which was filmed by Cable Access, was very, very well received, and there was 2 parts to it. One of the ones was, what can you do as your family to take steps to safeguard your family and friends? And something as simply as making sure, and certainly I can identify with myself, I've got 2 college students that are not, one of them is in Washington, D.C., and having the abilities, if something came up, it's a small thing, but that campaign was addressing of how one would get a hold of somebody if cell phones are not having to be able to get it, and something as simple as that. And the second part was that what's the town doing to safeguard its residents? And certainly I think it was a well-attended program, and I certainly thank all of those fine public officials for doing it. My next part of the thing, I told you it's 2 years worth of work, is the comings and goings. And one of the things we talked about, I mentioned Dan Laughlin's came on board in November of 2004. He's in the back of the room. He comes here with 20 years of assessing experience. The town is very, very fortunate to have him. Mentioned Dr. Hershey already. Mr. Younger alluded to, we had a local native Hall of Fame member, Tom Tracy, who went to work with the town of Watertown back in February of 1994, and worked with Watertown until March of 2004, and thought he would go out and try to solve other woes in another community. He realized that Watertown's where he should be, and came back, and we're very, very proud he came back in February of 2005. That's from the administrative side. The legislative side, in all of the people who live in Watertown, or even the people who live in Watertown who buy the Watertown Tavern Press, they had an election in November, and there were 6 new town councilors. So the councilors who departed in January 1 of 2006 were Councilors Falcoff, Councilors Pugilis, Council Bailey, Council President Panadosity, Council Ports, and Council Ciccarelli. The Council Ports slid sideways, went from the town council, and now is serving on the school committee. And the new councilors, if you will, who were elected on January 1 have served the citizen since them. Very proud to have here with us today the District 8 councilor, Councilor Angie Canellis, John Donahue, John Lawn, John Heck, Steve Corbett, and a former member and now a long-term member of the community, Clyde Younger, is elected a council president. One of the things that I did say, and I think it's kind of important to bring up, in the December of 2005, at their last meeting, the 6 councilors leaving and the 6 councilors coming on was, as a taxpayer working for and with all of the 6 departing councilors, and as a resident, as a taxpayer, I publicly applauded all of their efforts to serve the citizens of the community and making Watertown a better place to live and work for its citizens. I think all of the councilors who left played a role in that progress, and it's my belief that all the councils that came on in January will continue that progress, serving the citizens of the community. Upcoming matters, really quickly. Town Council on Tuesday night will be having additional discussion about zoning changes to the community. We've had a comprehensive zoning update. We've done one of them already. The Town Council is looking to consider more of them. In December of 2005, they adopted some proposed zoning changes. They were predominantly in response to some T-zone changes or some tear-downs or et cetera. The Town Council will hold a public hearing this Tuesday on new opportunities for mixed-use development and creating more incentives for the development activity in former industrial areas, which is in the Pleasant Street area, the I-3 district. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the Pleasant Street Improvement Project. Tom talked about Pleasant Street in Belmont. Watertown's the same issue. We're waiting to a project, looking for federal and state monies. The dollar amount is almost $8 million. We're expected to receive the money in fiscal year 2006, but it seems to be getting pushed back. That project will take 2 years to do. But it was hoped with all those developments on there, in addition to the developments on Pleasant Street and the long-standing, that's kind of our last frontier corridor, and we'll have even more commercial, Tom, that we can talk about in Watertown, having more tax dollars that certainly can help support the services provided to the citizens. The next I touched upon earlier, Tom Younger talked about that invariably a lot of times Public Works is the last facility to be taken care of. Well, in Watertown, it's going to be the police station. And what we've done, the Town Council voted in May of 2005 to move forward with a brand-new state-of-the-art facility at the location currently right now, the Brown School. And so certainly that is been a long time coming. There's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done with that, but the men and women, all the things I said it earlier, they have been very, very patient. The community has, in the last dozen years, renovated all of the schools, built a new senior center, renovated the skating rink, renovated all of the firehouses, renovated and expanded the Public Works facility, renovated and expanded the library, renovated the town hall, and now it's time for the police station. And that's a project that those monies I talked about earlier, the Neswick monies, the $500,000, we'll need that for paying for some of the bonding. It will be an exciting time. There'll be a lot of thought into one of the things we're looking to do down there. As you know, people know the Brown School, there's a ball field down there. So what we're looking to do is have the police department work with the recreation department and actually continue the Cops and Kids program right down there. So, and it's a wonderful opportunity, and I certainly think that's one of the biggest challenges coming forward. Mention all the town buildings and facilities have been renovated and expanded since in the last dozen years. Now it's time to, after we get the police station done, and as we're doing it, look at preventive maintenance for the existing buildings. So it's that starting time again to look at it. Some of the other things that we were looking to do is to look at Coolidge Square, look to try to see if we can work and try to come up with similar type. These are all things that we'd like to have discussion. The council has asked about looking at Coolidge Square. We've done Watertown Square, look at Coolidge Square. We'll also want to look at additional parking needs within the town hall, library campus in the center of town. And that discussion needs to occur with the council. The last upcoming matter is the Coolidge School. We're looking to move forward with the project there. Will be age 55 apartments down there. There'll be 38 of them. That's going to be a public meeting coming up on April 4th. Mitchell Properties looking to try to move forward with that. And my last comment is about, I started off with the town's past, the town's present, and the town's future, and talk about all three of those at one time. And one of them is, and I touched briefly upon that earlier, was the Watertown Arsenal Development Corporation. Gave the chairman, John Arazian, gave in September of 2005 the final report to the end of the chapter in Watertown. And I think it's important to kind of, this is the last time I'll talk about the WADC. Mr. Asian couldn't make it here today, but back in November of 2004, we had the groundbreaking for the Art Center, and one of the things I talked about is in 1989, 15 years from that point in November of 2004, the Arsenal Reuse Committee was established for the purpose of recommending appropriate reuses for the Army Materials Technology Laboratory and overseeing the environmental remediation of that site. The Arsenal Reuse Committee in the town secured over $100 million of federal and state monies to remediate that site. In June of 2007, after Governor Weld had authorized an act establishing the development of the Watertown Arsenal Development Corporation, in June of 1997 gave the charge to move forward with that to 9 members, and their responsibility was to aid public enterprise, a public agency. The goals of the development were a creation of quality jobs, tax revenue and public benefits, recreation, open space, and historical preservation. It won't go on to, one of the things, as you all know, the town bought the property from the Army for $7.5 million, sold it to a local developer with some of the monies being brought forward for almost $24 million. We talked about one of the money, what we did with, particularly with the Public Works facility. The WADC also reconstructed Arsenal Street with sidewalk period lighters and signalization. You all know a funny thing happened is that on the way to realizing 33% of our commercial tax base, the developer who bought it for almost $24 million sold it to Harvard University. That caused some significant concerns that 33% of our commercial tax rates would be lost forever. You all know for 18 months the town had discussions with Harvard University, ended up having a pilot agreement for 52 years. There's almost $500 million. That site today, as the folks from Belmont were talking about, is a beautiful site. It's almost 100% occupied. The town is receiving in the 4th to 5th year of the dollar amounts. It started at 3.8 and it goes up 3% from Harvard University every year. So it's a wonderful, it's a win-win. It's a win for a wonderful community, and it's a win for a wonderful institution as Harvard University. You see all the kind things after the agreement was done anyway, so the last thing about the future is, and part of those things, and I, quite frankly, John Arasian was the chairman in 1989. He's the chairman when he gave the final report. And to that I mentioned that day back in November 2004 when his wife and his 3 sons were there, that I don't think the Art Center would be up today if it wasn't for John Arasian. I said it then and I'll say it again tonight. The Art Center is certainly a 380 theater. It's got, as Mr. Solomon has attested to, it went there. It's got 3 resident companies at the center, and a new rep theater, the Watertown Children's Theater, and a Quilters Connection. What I would respectfully suggest, there'll be brochures available, you can doing that, but it is going to be a wonderful, and is moving forward with a great potential down there, and I hope and all of you would visit and making it again another crown jewel for the community. And in closing, again, I think as is stated many times before, it's the town's, our goal in administration to have all the departments here today and also working in various things to provide the highest level of essential services to the citizens of Watertown while utilizing the taxpayers' dollars as efficiently as possible. That remains the goal. It will be the goal, and I thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to open this to questions and answers. If anybody would like to ask a question, Mr. Capralian is going to walk around with a mic, and you can address either one of the gentlemen. They'll be happy to respond. Questions?
Mr. Driscoll, we have some mutual customers with the bank, and mutual customers being our mortgage loan customers and yours, the property owners. We're getting quite a bit of feedback recently, substantially negative feedback on what has happened with the taxes to the property owners. Is there anything, short of giving them your personal
phone number, that we can assure them or give them a little assurance or good news that maybe the taxes won't be quite as bad in this next year?
Well, I mean, I would respectfully suggest that I would perhaps maybe bring up a pinch hitter here, is maybe bring up the chairman of the Board of Assessors, who's here with us anyways, Dan Laughlin. Maybe he could, Mr. Carillion, maybe Dan could speak right from the chair about the taxes in Watertown anyways. I would respectfully suggest, again, and this is no reflection on the town of Belmont, because Mr. Solomon is too fine, Board of Selectmen, and Mr. Younger, the taxes in Watertown are significantly lower than they are in Belmont. Now that, by and large, is because of a commercial tax base. But perhaps Dan could just speak to the kind of the trends in the last several years to the question.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Good. There has been a trend over the last 5 years, and this is not isolated to Watertown, but it's actually statewide, but particularly within a 40-mile radius of Boston, that residential property values have nearly doubled in the last 5 years. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody here in this room. While commercial property values have stagnated over that same time period. And everybody knows it's the economy, stupid. The economy has not been performing either locally, regionally, or nationally that well over the last 5 years. And yet, residential property values have soared. It's not just isolated to Massachusetts. Many other states have experienced the same thing, predominantly due to low interest rates and the intense demand for housing throughout the nation. So what's happened is that assessments, because they must reflect market value, have also increased at that same rate, nearly doubling in the last 5 years. But our commercial assessments have not doubled in the last 5 years. They've stagnated. They've remained the same. Some, in some cases, have gone down. You need only drive down Pleasant Street in Watertown to see commercial buildings boarded up, unoccupied, no longer usable for commercial uses, so they're being converted to residential uses. That's where the market has been, in the residential market. Consequently, residential taxpayers throughout the region have been picking up more of the town's pie, so to speak, the municipal tax pie, and commercial taxpayers have been seeing either less or the same amount of pie. And that, of course, creates pressure on residential taxpayers' pocketbooks. When you see 5 to 10, sometimes 50% tax increases every year, it adds up over a period of 5 years. You're talking 30 to 40% tax increases. And that's not something that we have a lot of control over. My hope is that the commercial sector, and I do see some glimmers on the horizon, is beginning to improve. And the residential market is certainly cooling off at this point with higher interest rates, and frankly, the market, I think, is approaching its topped-off value for the time being anyway. So I think some good news for the next few years is that you'll probably see more modest increases in residential tax bills as commercial taxpayers start to pick up some of that slack. And more importantly, we start to see our commercial tax base grow when it really hasn't grown in the last 5 years. I hope that's an answer for you. Thank you.
My question's directed to Mr. Younger. Adam Tachi from Belmont Car Wash. It's good to have you in town, and congratulations on finishing almost your first year. One of the projects you didn't mention is the Trapella Road Belmont Street corridor study, and I'm curious as a business owner on that corridor exactly where we sit with that. Specifically, I know that the conceptual designs have been sent to the state to be placed on the tip, but I know that we only have until October as business owners to have any type of input as far as what happens. And currently the plan, despite my urging of the BSC group, is very detrimental for the front of my building that's situated on the corridor. And quite frankly, I'm starting to lose sleep now, because if this plan stays the way it's drawn up, despite my urgings over the last year to change it, we could be faced with a 30 to 50% decrease in business.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you, Adam. I'm very pleased you're here also. I am aware of the issues that you're concerned with there, and I will follow up with it. We're still on the TIP program for that, and there's also, I know, funding that we have possibly in town meeting regarding some additional surveying work and such for the Trapelo Road area, but I'd be more than happy to look into that further as far as those concerns. And I know you have a very well-received business down there, and it's a well-appreciated part of Belmont. Thank you. Also, Mr. Caprillion, if I can just do a follow-up that was to Mr. Driscoll, and this is more my question to Watertown, and actually to the assessor, if he's there. One issue that we've had, actually, regarding valuations in residential areas in Belmont, I don't know if it's the same in Watertown, but we have had what you call the condominiumation of two-family homes. And we've had a number of two-family homes being sold off as condominiums, and obviously the value for those is greater as two than versus one two-family. Just wondering if there's a trend of that in Watertown also?
Yes, in the last 5 years, Watertown has added 600 new condominiums, and we've lost nearly 300 two-family, three-family, one-family. So it's mostly a conversion phenomenon that's going on. There is some new construction. There's very little land left to develop, but we do get new developments in the form of teardowns. Previous properties that were old single-family homes that are in the multifamily zone get purchased for $400,000 or $500,000. They tear them down, so that tells me that the land is worth $400,000 to $500,000. And then they build a duplex, each of which are sold between $450,000 and $650,000 for new construction. So it's a similar phenomenon that's going on. It does add to our tax base, but keep in mind that the residential portion of the tax base continues to grow, and it overshadows the commercial portion of the tax base. And you know this yourself, with Belmont's commercial base only being 5%. If the residential sector of the tax base continues to grow at the tax rate, the commercial sector will continue to shrink and will become ever more reliant on residential taxpayers. So while the condominium conversion has good sides and bad sides, it does diminish the supply of rentable housing and therefore drives up the rents in general, and that will affect affordability for people that can't afford to buy. So that's a social problem that needs to be addressed. But we do need to look at, we meaning the Boston region in general, to look at developing our commercial tax base if we're going to be fiscally sound in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is more of a statement than a question. I hope that in your reconstruction of the Belmont Street corridor, it's going to be an open-door policy and have discussions with Watertown, because obviously any changes will certainly affect our residential streets in Watertown.
We're not planning on Belmont Street at this point. I assume we were talking about Pleasant Street?
Belmont Street.
Oh, Trapelo Road. Oh, I'm sorry. We said specifically Belmont Street. Yes, of course, yes.
My question is for Mr. Driscoll. When you talk about the residential development on Pleasant Street, specifically by Harts Mason, are there any environmental concerns about the ground or possibly something in the water at all from the factory being there for so many years?
Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, the developers who purchased that property are working with Community Development Planning, Mr. Watch and his staff, to review those issues. It was a brownfield site. So certainly that's, they're buying now. I'm not going to certainly profess today to know all the characteristics, but that it was a brownfield site. Certainly it'll be environmental issues that will need to be addressed by the developer who bought the property. So certainly that remains to be, and clearly Mr. Watson, who's our Community Development Planning Director, and his staff will certainly monitor all of those issues involving, but I mean, truth be told, as you alluded earlier, it is a brownfield site, and that will need to be addressed and cleaned up, if you will. So.
Hi, both of you, where are you currently doing together to save money, and what can you do in the future, whether it be purchase of supplies or services to the two towns?
Okay. I assume you're talking business, not personal, because I have a teenage daughter, so I'm not saving any money. But as far as business, as far as the municipality, there's a number of areas we're looking at. Obviously, one thing that we're looking at, and I'm sure Mike does the same, is that we're actually looking as far as purchasing, looking more so from the state contracts, as far as going out there to savings on that. We're looking at our software through the state contract purchases. We're also looking at one item that is actually some controversial in certain towns, whether it does save money or not. But we are looking at combined municipal maintenance services for both schools and municipal buildings. And we do have a program that we're looking at as a possible implementation in FY08, where there will be a combined building maintenance program for both schools and general government, and not two separate programs running simultaneously. We're looking at that. Other areas that we're looking at is that we're also looking at fees and revenues to make sure that they're similar to what other towns are utilizing. As far as purchasing is, we're looking at purchasing in bulk and looking at going out to bid more often than we used to for the best services. Health insurance is one issue where a number of communities, including us, may be possibly looking at in the near future of going out to bid for your health insurance plan and such. That's still down the road, but that's another area that we're looking at.
Yeah, just on that, sir, I think one of the issues that Michael Winton asked earlier about the tax base, that one of the things that we're looking at when you're talking about we're trying to do more with less. And so in essence, when you're talking about savings, monies, or et cetera, we have worked actually with Tom's predecessor, Mr. Kleckner, working out agreements where previously the town had a intermunicipal agreement for animal control. The town of Belmont and the town of Watertown still utilize the services, the shared services of a plumbing, gas, and fitting inspector that both Mr. McDonald works for both the town of Watertown and the town of Belmont. He actually is paid out of the town of Watertown, and the town of Belmont, if you will, sends us a check afterwards in dividing up the expenditures. But I think one of the issues, back to the first question about the tax base, one of the things that we're going on in Watertown is we're trying to deliver the highest level of services within Proposition 2.5. The Proposition 2.5 increase is $1.4 million. I alluded to earlier that the health insurance cost alone is 1.6. So we're looking at, if you will, I would respectfully suggest that that the expenditures today are far exceeding the revenues, and that what we need to do is not lose sight of trying to make sure we take care of our infrastructure, including, and actually, while Ms. Howard asked to call, Watertown just did recently, as being one of the prime supporters of the Trees for Watertown, was just recently named for the 15th year in a row Tree City USA. So certainly I appreciate the question, Sandra, but we are constantly, Mr. Young and myself, other municipal leaders, looking at, but I would also respectfully say that there's not a lot of spending that could be the core monies that are being provided in the level of services. At some point, it's either the level of services need to be diminished, and when you talk level of services in many cities and towns, absent of an override, and we're doing it all within the confines, is the level of services predominantly comes down to the level of employees, the number of. And we're trying to maintain that level of services, and all the while dealing with some significant budget-buster issues. One that we haven't even talked about, and I know that everyone needs to go, is post-employment benefits that the town of Belmont and town of Watertown and every municipality in the country are going to need to do, is to go do a study to determine how much money we owe for health insurance for retirees. So as much as you're looking for the savings, Sandra, we're trying to minimize we are looking at the various issues, but there's not, at this point, not a lot. I wish, for Tom's case and my case, it was easy as ABC, just reduce the cost to here and everything be said. That quite frankly, the budgets have been gleaned before, and so we will continue to look at that, but it's an ever-ending battle. So.
Just as a follow-up, and I tell my board and tell the public, and same thing as Mike, is regarding savings. You can always have savings. You just may not like the result. And we can bring it down there, but what there is for every dollar we save or dollar we reduce in the budget, there's a reaction that something else is going to be reduced also. So just, passing that on again to the public.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Younger, Mr. Driscoll. Thank you both very much. Just, before we leave, I would just like to remind everybody that the Chamber of Commerce has 3 major events coming up. Our $10,000 raffle is next Friday night, March 31st. We'll have tickets on sale as you're leaving if you'd like to purchase one, and please feel free to come down and join us that night. It's a fun event. The next major event is the Taste of the Towns, which is being held on April 27th at VHB in Watertown. That's on a Thursday evening. Tickets will be available next week, and our annual golf tournament on May 22nd. You can mark your calendars, and more details will follow. Thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoyed.